welcome to this practice of Hatha Yoga with a few extras as usually. We will look into our most used mudra today. I'm always finding my way, or already finding my way down onto the mat. Besides the mat, maybe a blanket for comfort, and a block, nothing else is really required. So I will just place the block here and then take a seat on the block. We might start in this seated position just to get comfortable, and then also to practice a bit of pranayama or breathing techniques. Now, wherever you are practicing from in this class, just making sure that foremost you are okay. Remember that while we're on the screen, it might also feel just tempting to try one or the other thing. Feel free to try stuff, but always take good care of yourself. So I hope you use this time to move around and find a place in which you can sit. I suggest to squeeze the shoulder blades a little, then take a deep breath to lift the shoulders to the ears. And as you breathe out, roll them forward, and then squeeze the back again as you breathe in, lifting the shoulders up to the ears and rolling them forward as you're breathing out. Let's do that one more time, squeezing back, lifting up and rolling forward. And then we'll do the opposite as we move our shoulders forward and up, and then shrug them down and really squeezing the shoulder blades as you roll the shoulders down, and then repeating that twice more. Just the shoulder movement, and you can design that as large or as small as is feeling good for you. And once you've grounded yourself through the shoulder movement, let the shoulders be easy, maybe even closing your eyes. And you could then choose, just for this moment, joining the palms of the hands together as we come into, I guess, the most used mudra within an asana or physical practice, Anjali mudra, our prayer position. While you might choose here to fully touch the palms, there's no real rule. You could also have a gap between the palms of the hands, and I believe it's personal preference that informs that decision. So simply feeling how you're joining in the left and the right coming together, and maybe how it feels to just have the palms so close or touching. We begin this practice with 3 chants of Om. So you might join in as we breathe in together now. Letting your arms open out to the sides as you next inhale, and then resting your fingertips down behind as you're breathing out, and just leaning a little bit back. And if you were in an easy pose, you might briefly change the cross of the legs. It's not essential, just something that I like to do. For our pranayama or breath work, we'll go back to Nadi Shodhana, or alternate nostril breathing, also to help us bring harmony into the body and draw the awareness into our center to nourish the connection with the universe. So the right hand might be used, and on that, the thumb and the ring finger to close the nostrils. The other two fingers may rest over your eyebrow center or be folded into the palm of the hand. I really like the support of the opposite palm underneath the elbow, and I really lean the elbow into that so that I can take care of my spine being upright rather than worrying about the head. When we begin, we breathe in through both nostrils first and out of both. So closing the right nostril and inhaling through the left. Opening the right, closing the left nostril, exhaling the right side. Nostrils blocked, you notice, visualize this practice. Inhaling right nostril. Open the left, closing the right and breathing out the left nostril. This completes one cycle. If you need to visualize, please do so. Inhaling left. Exhaling right. Inhaling right nostril. Exhaling left nostril. Keep breathing like this, inhaling through your left, exhaling through your right. Not much else to do, but concentrating on the flow of the breath through the nostrils. A practice of accepting that one is usually flowing more easily than the other. Acknowledging potentially the point where the breath switches over, which might be around about where your fingers are resting. Please complete the round you are currently in without any rush. And rest both hands down when you complete it. While your eye gaze might be steady or the eyes closed, then taking a few breaths. Recognizing how this alternate nostril breathing or Nada Shodhana worked for you. Acknowledging potential likes or dislikes. There's no need actually to open the eyes unless you would like to or prefer to. As I would ask you to come off your sitting support. If that was a block, please place that to the side of the mat, the front side rather. You might use a blanket underneath the knees if your knees are feeling a little bit sore. And then sitting towards the heels. Now, if you do have bolsters and other props around you, we will rest in this shape for a little while. So you may also grab a bolster, place that in front of you, as you might lower your head. So when the head is in line with the heart, you might still be feeling quite good. If this is your final position for this morning and there's no blame, you can even use a block all the way up. But try and find something to rest your forehead upon, whether that is a block or whether it might be the floor. And from there then, the arms softly extended out in front. You might join the palms of the hands together if the space in front of you allows that. And just holding the palms again to touch for a little while. Your eyes might close here as you rest in Balasana or Child's Pose. And you could bring the attention back into the palms of the hands, how they're joined together, invoking a sense of union with the universe, and potentially helping reduce the activity of the mind. Maybe allowing a slight release of tension around the shoulder blades. And cultivating a sense of inner silence or reflection. taking in these comments, maybe already an intention starts to build for this practice. But then changing the hand position only slightly, as however you're resting here in your child's pose, let the hands open up towards the ceiling, but leaving the side of the hands lightly touching, for example, your little fingers. Notice how the same mudra feels once it is open, once the palms are showing up. It is like a prayer with outstretched hands. What this symbolizes is the unwavering belief that whatever one is praying for will soon arrive. Now, being aware that it does matter what one is praying for. Inherent in this gesture is also a strong pulsating face or shraddha. And faith is what is required to be able to make great leaps and receive even greater blessings. If you have found any intention that would work for you for today or even just for this practice, please manifest that by repeating it quietly 3 times to yourself. And once you might have done so, carefully closing the palms of the hands again, as if you were to seal this quality into your hands. You might want to remove your block if you had your head resting on it. And then very slowly uncurling the spine and taking your intention as well as your hands in front of the heart space. If sitting upon your heels is too much flexion in the knees, you could already be standing on the knees. As you breathe in, lifting the arms up, maybe following them with the gaze. On the out breath, circle the arms behind your back and interlace the hands here. Drawing the arms down the back or even away from it. As you squeeze your shoulder blades, you might lift the sternum or your heart space. Arms might draw away from the back. And some of you with happy necks could even lift the gaze all the way upwards. As we reach a light back bend here, taking a deep full inhalation. On the out breath, release your arms onto your back. Lean the body forward again. Now either staying here, arms could be lifted if that's enough, or tucking the chin in, placing the head down onto the floor and rolling directly onto the top of the head. Arms lifted away from the back if the shoulders are happy with that for a rabbit posture. Then let your arms release, your buttocks come back to the heels and take another rest in this child's pose, just to level out the blood flow back into the heart. And I will ask you now to slowly uncurl the spine as you lift back up to sit upon the heels, but sliding your hands out in front now, lifting the hips away from the heels as you come onto your hands and knees, maybe tucking the toes under, If that's right for you, raise the knees off the mat and start moving your legs a little. So you might pedal out the legs as you encourage one heel towards the ground while the other knee is bending. And then taking that for a walk to the front side of the mat. As you end here in a standing forward bend, on your next out breath, begin to uncurl the spine, rolling up into a standing position. Take a reach up of your arms as you extend your whole body, breathing in. And touch the hands together down to heart center as you breathe out, making sure shoulders are easy. Hands might even lightly press together. You could choose to step your feet out a little bit further apart, maybe placing them into about shoulder distance. We'll take another breath in to raise the arms up all the way. As you breathe out, bend the knees, bring the hands back into the heart, lean forward with bent knees like you do in a chair pose. So the spine is long and the gaze is slightly forward. Separating the hands now and placing them onto the middle of your thighs and trusting the weight of your hands and arms into the thighs. As you now inhale, let your tailbone lift, your belly drop, your chest open, and your gaze come forward. And with the out breath, roll the tail under first, start to round the spine, keep rounding and then lowering the head. For the inhale, start with the tailbone again, let the belly drop. As the chest lifts, the head is slowly coming up and looking forward. Again, start from your tailbone, breathing out, rounding the whole spine. And then lifting again from the tailbone as you breathe in. Now keep the standing cat and cow going for a few more breaths. Moving each vertebra through the spine, fully supported. The stance doesn't change, not even the bend in the knees, and you might feel some warmth coming up around the legs. When you next come into a rounded position, please hold there. Then uncurl the spine slowly. Take a breath in to lift the arms up. And as you bring your hands down to the heart, step the right foot far down the mat. Bring a bend into the right knee and lift up through your spine. Your hands are still touching here at heart center, a simple lunge position. If for whatever reason you need to ground the back heel, I recommend to keep it off the floor, but sometimes we do need to ground. Please step the foot a little bit out towards the side. For your next in-breath then, you might straighten the legs and extend the arms up, maybe even your gaze. And for the out-breath, bring a deeper bend into the knee, the hands or Anjali mudra back in front of the heart. Maybe the lunge becomes even lower. On the inhale, straighten the legs, reach arms up, maybe gaze. Breath out and come back into the deeper lunge. Repeating for 3 more breaths. 2 more to go, moving slowly and using the flow of the breath. When you have completed your last one, you sit back with your hands at the heart, starting to lean the weight into the foot at the front and stepping the foot down next to the other, returning again into the chair posture. Let us push down into the feet and lift the arms, maybe extending the whole body. On the out breath, let the arms open if you like them extended, or bring hands back to heart for another chair posture. So let's push down into the feet, extending the body as you breathe in. Out breath, arms long or hands touching at heart, chair pose. Let's practice 2 more. As we find a pause within our chosen chair poses. On the next breath in, lifting again. As you bring the hands back to the heart, now the left foot steps far down the mat. As you step down, bend the knee, left one, and lift through the spine. Back into our lunge. Movement will be the same. For the in-breath, could you straighten the legs, extend the arms, maybe even lifting your gaze up? And for the out-breath, sinking back into both knees, maybe deepening or lowering the lunge more. For the in-breath, straightening the legs, reaching arms up and the gaze if available. And the breath out as you sink back into the pose. Repeat again for 3 more rounds, just lifting and lowering into the posture. The arms might extend and then they come back in front of the chest on the out breath. It would be okay to do the same thing here from a firmer stance. And once you have completed your rounds, the knee is bent. We will lean the body a little bit forward. And then stepping the foot down next to the other, returning into a chair posture. And as you press down into the feet, extending the whole body again, breathing in. And now bring your hands down all the way, knees soft towards the mat into a standing forward bend. See how it feels to have the head low. If that's not yours, always keeping it up halfway. If you are comfortable with the head low, your knees might be bent in this forward fold. We will create a waterfall movement. For that, you might slide the hands up and press the fingertips into the shins so you can straighten your back forward as if you wanted to come to the edge of this waterfall. Then bend the knees and let the water fall or your upper body lower. On the in-breath, wave the spine long, support fingertips into shins. Breath out, water falls down. Now keep that flowing without counting, just lengthening on the in-breath and letting everything go on the out-breath. Repeating that for a little while. Thinking of really long spine. And our last round, and pausing that in a standing forward bend. Maybe the weight leans slightly forward within the feet, the tailbone high. We will use an out-breath to come into standing, and you might use your lower abdominal muscles to support that, curling up on the exhalation. Lifting your arms back up to extend the body fully on the in-breath. And then drawing the hands down to heart center. Again, Anjali mudra on the out-breath. We'll change our postures and keep the body in a standing pose. So I'd ask you to lift your right knee. And I might actually do that on the right side, not to get confused. And then stepping the foot back and lowering the heel down. So your heels could be aligned with each other here. The legs might be straight. I'd like you to extend the arms where the fingers are pointing to the floor. And then think back about the edge of the waterfall and lean your body into the edge of a waterfall. so that the hands with palms touching in Anjali Mudra are pointing to the floor. The spine is quite long. Press down into the ball of your front foot and make sure that the knee at the front there is lightly bent. Maintain that and take a breath in to let your right hand slide up the left arm, come across your chest and extend potentially to the ceiling. If this is too much for your shoulder, you can place the hand into the side of the waist. More important than extension of the arm is the opening of the shoulders, while you maintain a strong stance into the mat. This is triangle pose or trikonasana. If you feel your breath is flowing smoothly, you could choose to extend the arm over the head and find the palm facing down and extend it, a triangle or Utthita Trikonasana. You might find that the breath is changing here, that you're quite working hard around your waistline and core. Breathing in. On the out breath, release the hands, bend the back knee, bend the front knee. You might place your hands upon the thigh, lifting the back foot and stepping it a little bit out towards the side. Now I will change my view and turn towards you. We've got a hip distance stance now of our feet, and we'll bring a bend into the front knee. You might feel it's good to pull the feet a little bit inwards, just to lift up through the whole body. Palms might join here in front of the heart space. For your inhalation, could you straighten the legs again and reach the arms up? For the out breath, could you bring the hands back to the heart, but bend the knee and find your warrior stance again? We'll only do 2 more here. So for the in-breath, you might lengthen both legs, reach the arms up. For the out-breath, maybe bring a bend into the knee and the hands land at heart center. Last one. You might then choose to keep the hands at the heart, lift the back heel off the floor and lean the weight towards the front foot. You could slide this foot in and open your knee and hip to the side for a tree pose. If you like your big toe on the floor, that's a perfect position. You might also bring the foot up, rest it against your lower leg, or you might assist the foot and bring it to the upper inner thigh. There's a bit of pressure required between the thigh and the foot if you do. So while you're standing here, now I can see some of you touching walls and pieces of furniture. That's what they're there for, to maintain your balance. But see if you can really actively ground through the foot on which you stand. Maybe pressing the palms of the hands together and feeling the action between the shoulder blades. Only if your shoulders are happy, take the hands up over the head. And you have the option here of keeping arms bent or even resting Anjali Mudra to the top of the head, getting a light stimulation there into the crown. But the more we focus on the upper body, the more likely it is to let go of the lower body. So please ground through the foot on the floor, feeling a sense of straighten through the trunk of your tree. Finding the steadiness here in your gaze. Rikshasana, a perfect representation of the connection between the earth and the sky. Let's lift the arms, release the knee, step the foot to the ground and take a long out breath just to release the arms and finding a mountain pose. And you can give the shoulders a shrug, you can wiggle a little, just finding your place within the body again. As you come back to stand, let's inhale the arms reaching up again. On the hourglass, take your hands back to Anjali Mudra in front of the chest. We will lift the left knee up and then stepping the foot down behind, grounding the heel. So that's usually a quite okay stance there. As both legs are straight here, pointing your straightened arms with the fingertips to the floor. Have a micro bend in your front knee, that's your right one, and start to lean back to the edge of the waterfall or your half lift position. As you might get your spine all the way there, or at least keep the length in the spine, keep pressing down into the ball of the front foot and unlocked knees. As you then inhale, you might slide your left hand up your right arm, brush across the chest, maybe even extend to the ceiling. Or you could rest the hand into the side of the waist. The same here, both legs are long, yet there's a micro bend in the front knee and that pressure to the ball of the foot. The best here is to open the shoulders as wide as is possible, not caring about the distance of your hand to the floor. If your arm is extended, you would like to do a little bit more, you could take that arm and extend it over the head, letting the palm of the hand face down towards the ground. Keep your breath flowing at all times. If you make a choice, and be it a simple extension of the arm over the head that causes your breath to fade, step the hand back to where it was or changing back to where you were. Let's slowly release the arm, bring a bend into the front knee, place your hands upon the thigh and just shortening the stance. So we're taking the foot a little bit out towards the side, then you can come into a standing position. So we've got a hip distance stance now, and we can bring a bend into the front knee there, joining the palms of the hands together, finding another Anjali Mudra. I think we're getting very familiar with that hand position, as you might squeeze your feet ever so slightly inwards, lower body support. In the inhalation, you might straighten your legs and extend your arms up. Maybe your gaze is lifting too. For the hourglass, bring a bend into the front knee and draw the hands back down into the heart space. We'll repeat that twice more, inhaling as you might straighten and stretch up. And hourglass as you come to your praying warrior one stance. Last round. Maintaining your hands at the heart when you complete it. Starting to push the back heel off the floor and changing the weight to the front foot. As you might slide your back foot in, opening the knee and the hip towards the side if that's working for you. The big toe can stay on the ground, or you can choose between placing foot to lower or helping the foot to upper inner leg. If you choose the second option of lifting the foot off the ground, create pressure between the leg and the foot. If it's okay to keep hands touching, please do so. Finding the length through the body by grounding deeply into the foot, as if you could reach up to touch the ceiling with the top of the head. Now your hands can stay here if your shoulders prefer, but you could also extend the arms up as you inhale, and you might even land the prayer back onto the top of the head. So that the crown of our tree has a direct connection to the crown of the head. Keep grounding through your feet, have a steady gazing point and hold. Then as you breathe in, you might lift your knee in front, arms extending, Then step the foot down and slowly releasing the arms as you bring the energy back down through the body into mountain pose. And please feel free to make any little movements here that are right for you in the body. From there, on your next inhalation, lifting the arms up and bending the knees as you take the prayer all the way down the midline, folding back forwards. Wave up to the edge of the waterfall, breathing in. And on the out breath, then stepping your right foot back and lowering the right knee to the mat. Swinging your right foot a little bit behind you, quite a lot, so the hips are opening up to the front. Placing your left hand on the inside of the left leg, which is at the front, and bring the right hand into the side of the waist. Create a gentle pressure between your left arm and your left leg. And maybe the hand comes up a bit further as you roll your right shoulder back, maintaining the pressure between the leg and the arm, but paying most attention to rolling the shoulder back rather than again touching the floor. Your option for this kneeling side angle pose is to raise the right arm, keeping the pressure between the left leg and the left arm. And the last option there is to swing the arm down in front and extend the arm, same as you did in the triangle, over the head. Take a big reach here as you breathe in. On the exhale, let your hands release to the mat. Swing the foot back in line with the mat and step the other knee back. Now I will lead you here with a kneeling plank if it's right. Do use cat and cow pose if you want an alternative, or roll the spine forward with me into a kneeling kumbhakasana or plank. In breath, out breath, keep your elbows nice and close and carefully lower onto the front of your body. Pressing the tops of the feet into the mat, the knees might lift. And for the inhale, lifting the head and the chest for a cobra. So your choice is hands grounded, hands floating, or using the hands to deeper extend into the back bend. Your choice. We'll take another full breath in and out. Then breathing in again. And with the out breath, releasing to the mat. Pushing yourself back up onto all fours. And on your out breath, round the spine, return to the beginning of the practice, the posture of the child as you sit back towards the heels. Palms could touch again if you enjoy Anjali Mudra. Opening the palms of the hands as a gesture to receive. Then separate the hands and turn the palms to touch the floor. As you breathe in, coming back up onto the hands and the knees. You might help or swing your right foot forward and take the left foot behind you so the hips are opening back to the side. Your right arm attaches to the inside of the right leg and the left hand comes to the side of the waist. Create the pressure between the leg and the arm, but your fingertips might come away from the floor. And take a breath from there to roll the shoulder back, using the resistance of arm and leg against each other. Feeling good here? Maintain that gentle pressure of leg and arm. You could extend your arm up to the ceiling if that's feeling right for you. As you maintain that little pressure, notice how you're opening here through the hips. And if you feel like extending, you could swing the arm back and down and then circle it up over the head, letting the palm of the hand face towards the floor. Arm might be fully extended here. Same with the arm against the leg below. Deep breaths in and out. And then releasing that as you swing it back, placing your hands down, framing the front foot, swinging the leg back. You might slide the knee back and return into an all-four stance. If you enjoyed the kneeling plank, you might step your knees back a little. If you would like a full plank, please tuck the toes under, lifting your knees. We'll draw the tailbone back towards the heels. There's some space between the shoulder blades. Breathing in. Knees might be down. As you breathe out, keep your elbows close and lower down onto the front of the body. You can choose now to repeat the cobra bubble hold for 2 breaths, or push the whole body off the floor and hold an upward facing dog. 2 breaths. You can then choose to lower the knees or push straight through into downward facing dog if that is yours. And even use a couple of breaths to get there. So your option might be a down dog, and if that's not yours, be on all fours instead. We'll start to walk again, the feet walking towards the front side of the mat. Taking an inhale there for a half lift. And out breath to fold. With the exhalation, then curling up slowly into standing. Take a reach up of your arms as you breathe in. And let the hands join together, the heart back into Anjali Mudra. Now, while you are still flowing, I've placed my block on the short front edge of the mat. With the hands at the heart, we will step the right foot far down the mat, grounding the heel, however, and letting the body open to the side. The right hand will go to the side of the waist, and the back of the left hand will rest on the inside of the knee today. We're using the same pressure of back of the hand and knee to roll the right shoulder back. For a complete side angle pose, you might also extend the right arm. Saying complete, it was complete already. It's just different now. If you want more different, swing the arm down in front of you and let it come over the head, palm of the hand facing down. You're still having a little bit of a push against the knee and the knee against the back of your hand. Side angle pose. As you reach forward, especially if your arm is extended over the head, inhale, and then place the hand back into the side of the waist as you're breathing out. Now, if it's anyhow possible, maintain the stacking here of the shoulders. Start to shift the weight forward. If you like to use a block, have the block under your right hand, and you will guess it, the back foot might lift off the floor for a half moon pose. So your shoulders would already be open enough, but I'd agree that sometimes it's easier to lean the shoulder down. If you do, and once you might have the block under the hand, roll the shoulder back open. For Ardha Chandrasana, again, you could extend your arm upwards. Leave the block in your hand. Step the foot all the way down. Release your arms. And although it will turn you away from me, place the block down to the other side of the mat. Let's turn the right foot to face the short edge of the mat. Bring a bend into the knee and find the widest stance between your feet. The left hand goes into the side of the waist, and we're placing the back of the right hand against the inside of this right knee. This is where we create a bit of tension, back of the hand and the knee. rolling the left shoulder back to open the body. You might feel that there's quite some activity through the body. If you enjoy it, extend your left arm towards the ceiling. Checking in with the pressure between hand and knee. Option to let the arms swing in front and then extend over the head with the palm of the hand facing down. This extension is also with the shoulder back. So if your arm is falling in front of the face, maybe lift it back to the ceiling instead. Maintaining the openness much more important. As you could reach into the fingers, inhaling. And with the out breath, placing the hand back into the side of the waist. You might increase the bend in the front knee, keeping the shoulder back. You might reach for the block, slide the foot in. The foot might lift, and if you can maintain the openness through the chest, hold it. Take your time. Maybe the left arm is extending. Maybe. Then let's point the foot, land it down. Take the block and place that in front of your wide stance, turning your heels out. You might have your fingertips on the block as you lengthen the spine again, as if you were the edge of a waterfall. And then slowly exhaling to breathe out into a wide-legged forward bend. I guess that's a much needed stretch here with the feet quite wide, the outer edges of the feet parallel. The hands might rest underneath the shoulders. And if you have a feeling like the head is touching the floor, shorten your stance. I bet there's a little bit more you could do. If you enjoy pressure on the top of the head, you might use a block underneath the head, unless yours is touching the floor. And then staying there, weight lightly leaning forward in the feet, tailbone the highest point. Allowing some slow, long exhalations. With the next inhale, lift onto your fingertips back to the edge of the waterfall. And then just bringing one knee down, the other knee down to the mat, and changing maybe the block underneath your bottom into an easy pose. And I know that not all of you bend your knees, so please feel free to sit differently, maybe sitting on the block, knees bent, maybe legs are long. So let us shuffle again as we land once more on the block in the seated position. It is okay to close the eyes if you feel comfortable doing so. And you might like to inhale and reach the arms up. On the exhale, join the palms back in Anjali mudra and touch them to your heart space. Leave the shoulders easy, but actively press the hands together this time. On the next out breath, twisting to your right. Keep the hands exactly in the center of the chest, but use the pressure between them to initiate the turn. On the inhale, come back to center. On the exhale, repeating to the left. I'd ask you to do that twice more to each side if it suits. So we're very actively turning through the spine, but we can use the pressure between the hands to help us. When you have completed, we'll come back into the center. For the in-breath, to raise the arms again. And for the out-breath, to release the arms and touch the ground on either side. Noticeably let the shoulders relax. You might like to come off your block if you are seated on one and place that to the center of the mat. I will bring in a little blanket just for the head, as you might extend your legs out in front, have a block in reach, and ever so slowly lowering down onto the back. Now, if you've got a wall near you like myself, you could also use legs up the wall pose, but that might be too much of a hassle. So once you're lying on your back, and please do not prop the head up as I do, I'm still finding my balance, so to say. You might step your feet down onto the mat, lengthen the arms by your sides, shuffle the pelvis into a suitable position. You could then lift your hips up with a little squeeze of the buttocks and support with a halfway or flat block underneath the sacrum. Love to finish with legs up the wall, whether that is a wall or whether you lift your knees loosely over the chest and extend the legs to the ceiling, which hopefully is similarly relaxing as the block gives the pelvis the tilt so that the legs are hanging in the air with little effort at all. We've spent most of the practice today standing, and your feet might be able to tell that. So you could use a wiggling of the toes, a squeezing of the toes. You might start moving through your feet and the ankles. There's no rules for those movements. My knees, for example, are quite soft. As you find some movement here, you could close your eyes, let the arms roll open if you feel supported enough to do so. And just moving the feet for a little while, encouraging the flow to move back out of the feet to groins and torso. After a while of movement, you might have enough and you might like to stay there still, knees soft, feet hanging in the air. There's this time where it feels like all the bodily fluids are just coming out of the feet, being drained. And once you've reached that point, you might lightly bend your knees back over the chest, and as you carefully lower the feet towards your bottom, taking time here to acknowledge the flow back down into the feet. You could then release one foot down onto the mat and then the other, maintaining a bit of a gap between the knees and the feet. And then squeezing your bottom up for a bridge as you take a breath in, and you might hold that bridge, at least for the time it takes to remove the block. And then rolling your spine down onto the ground. Please take a note of how you are feeling. I will wiggle my feet to the edges of the mat and let the knees fall in for a gentle release. You might do something different. For me, this is actually enough, and I could rest here, which would be a constructive resting pose. But I might also be able to extend the legs out. And if you do have a bolster, feel free to place that underneath the knees. It's a very nice support and also assists the relaxation of the hip flexors. So as you find your steady resting pose, you can choose to close the eyes, or you might find yourself even covering the eyes, an eye pillow, a thin shawl, a light towel or a sleeve. Taking your time to lie back and to find a rest. Shuffling the body enough so you're actually comfortable, not rushed to be in this shape. As you come to rest here, you might have the arms open, the palms facing back up towards the ceiling in your Shavasana or resting pose. You might close the eyes. So while you're resting, the eyes might be closed. Think back of the hands, how they might have touched. How they're now open, ready to receive. One day in a prayer, she was down on her knees with upturned hands reaching toward the sky. Vishnu decided to let the grace of his grand serpent fall upon this sweet woman in a prayer. Into her praying hands fell baby Patanjali. Pat means to fall in Sanskrit, and Anjali was the gesture the woman made with her hands. This was no ordinary baby boy. He had the upper torso of a normal human, but his lower half was a snake's tail. Apparently, Ananta didn't have time to make a complete transformation on his fall to earth. But who was the woman to question a gift from above? So she loved him and raised him as her own, despite the serpentine lower half. And some of you might be aware who Patanjali became. He wrote the Yoga Sutras, our guidelines for daily practice. And so this woman was praying for a baby, for a child, received Patanjali in gratitude. So maybe reflecting upon what you have been asking for. This might prompt you to practice awareness. As the card for today is from the language of your soul, and it says, rest and review your past. Assess what is and isn't working in your life. So very related to what you might be praying for. If you like, you can stay in your lying position. If you prefer to do this practice seated, you might come into a seated position, disturbing yourself as little as is possible for you. If you do choose to sit, you would bring the hands to touch in front of you. If you choose to lie down, you might still join the hands somewhere and just rubbing your hands vigorously together and creating a bit of heat between the palms of your hands, stimulating the energy flow. Instead of doing the usual, bring the hands into the prayer in front of your heart, whether you're lying or seated, and then separate the hands just a tiny bit. and focusing on the energy field you've just created between the two hands. You might like to visualize there a pale blue ball of energy growing between your palms, warming them. Once you formed a pale blue ball of energy, gently guide the ball, of course, within your mind, toward your adrenals, just above your kidneys. Feel your adrenal glands absorbing this healing, calming energy. And maintain the energy there as long as it still feels good. Then touch the palms of the hands again and rub them together one more time. Again, quite vigorously creating the warmth there. And repeating the same, just separating the hands ever so slightly. So you feel back into the energy field created now. You might visualize a pale green ray of light becoming a green ball of energy between your hands. And focus how you want to embody feeling every single day. Then let these positive energies move through your adrenal glands and nervous system to the core of your being. Maybe re-energizing, maybe creating some enthusiasm for life. If you're lying down right now, you might deepen your breath slightly and join us in a seated position where we might all touch the palms of the hands again together, letting the thumbs gently rest upon the sternum. It's a clear idea of how you want to be every single day of your life. We'll chant once more the universal sound of Om. Let's breathe in. Om. We're extending from these energies towards each other with a light bow. Namaste.